And government is accusing some of the groups who are campaigning against the yes vote in the upcoming referendum of pursuing parochial interests. There's controversy over amendment of Clause 3 of Article 55 of the 1992 Constitution to allow for partisan participation in local government elections. Some civil society groups and non-governmental organizations are against the process on grounds of divisiveness in favor of partisan politics. Majority Chief Whip Kwesi Ameyaw-Treme, however, suggests opponents are only seeking to maintain foreign sponsorship for sensitization when local elections remain non-partisan. He spoke to Love News on the sidelines of the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana training program for assembly member aspirants in Kumasi. Nanaya Ojima takes a look at preparation, subtle campaign strategy, of aspirants for election and for the referendum slated for December 17th.
Red, blue and white dominate colors of posters of assembly member aspirants in the Ashanti region. Though less visible, another combination, red, black and green, go for some aspirants. No specific reasons are given for choice of colors, but does it strike any chord? Perhaps yes, because the two color combinations are linked respectively to the governing NPP and opposition NDC, the two dominant political forces in the country. Ali Yaya is a past assembly member for Kobreso electoral area in Offenso North District. The NDC member attempts to explain reasons for the colors.
Because as we are all aware, most Ghanaians are aligned to either NDC or NPP. So if the area, the people there are NDC, and you choose the NDC colors, people may vote based on your political affiliation, and at the end of the day, you may benefit from it.
Though the Constitution prohibits involvement of partisan participation in the local government elections, the exact manifests in various forms. Esther Kakari Asamoah contested and lost in the Kentinkono electoral area in the last local government election. She blames her fate on people she describes as detractors who tagged her NDC just to cause her defeat.
I have held a position as a woman organizer for a political party, which is NPP. I cannot hide that fact. Everyone knows it. And so I don't believe in that tagging. I don't do much to counter it. But then, in some way, I talk to people who are naive and who are not into politics, that even in district assembly, we don't do politics.
Government ahead of December 17 has intensified campaign for a yes vote to amend the entrenched clause. Others, mostly NGOs, continue to campaign against the proposition, citing division among the people and corruption as reasons. Here is head of local government service, Nana Ato Afe's view on the concerns of no-vote campaigners.
If this country is divided. Where is the division? When you go to assemblies, NDC, MPP people are there. Are they divided? Is it divided? When you go to parliament, MPP and NDC people are there. Are they divided? I don't think it's going to divide this nation. Rather, it will strengthen democracy at the local level.
Majority Chief Whip in Parliament, Kwesi Ameyaw-Treme, is on campaign for government's proposal. He believes most of the campaigners against the proposal are doing so for their own interest.
It's not every NGO or civil society or any individual. But I say some of them, because the current system, we say, is non-partisan, they can go to funding agencies, organizations that have funds to give, and say that we are going to mount education for these people in this area or that area, or this section of people, either women or people with disabilities or men or thereabout. And some of those people think that their source of funding will be in danger, imperiled, with the participation of political parties. Because some of those funding agencies will not give you money to go and train political parties. You hold a district assembly election, and we say it is non-partisan, and how many people turn out to vote? We have recorded under 20 before. The highest we have ever had is 43%. So you ask yourselves, if political parties were involved, they will be able to mobilize majority of the voters to go and vote.
In spite of the heightened campaign, it is unclear voter turnout of 40% and the 70% endorsement will be achieved.
And Executive Director of ASEPA, Thompson Mensah, joins me with some thoughts on this. Good morning, Thompson.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So just last week, you were on this show campaigning for no votes. Now, the government says CSOs like you are pursuing parochial interests. What do you make of that?
What the government spokesperson mentioned what the interest that we are pushing is. I think it would be very, very good to have the conversation around that particular isolated interest, on what interest that they have seen that they're saying that civil society organizations, may have, and what sort of interest will we have in the first place. I think it's very important to set the record straight that it is government rather that is pushing its own interest to the fore rather than the interest of the people. And that is why you've seen that deliberately the issues are not open up for people to understand exactly what this referendum seeks to achieve. I think it is the government rather that is pushing its own agenda to the fore, not civil society organizations. Because we have studied our local government architecture, we have local government experts in the country, we have governance experts in the country who have all rallied for a no vote. And if you want to say all these people have interest, are all these people having a particular interest? Are they pushing for one interest? What is that interest? You see, what we have said is that this is going to alter the local government architecture of the country. How does that benefit us? In fact, we are afraid of the dangers a yes vote will bring. We are afraid of the dangers of allowing political parties to participate in local government elections. And that is why we are campaigning for a no vote. And so if that is the parochial interest government is talking about, then we accept it. Because we know that this will not serve the interest of the entire country. We know that this will not serve the interest of the people. We know that this is an elitist regime that government wants to extend to us. We also know that this is a totalitarian regime that government wants to extend to us. And we have advocated that let's allow the local people themselves to decide at the local level who should be a DCE, but without the influence of political parties. I don't see where the interest government is talking about comes in here.
So there was some mention made of perhaps some funding that could be accessible for the education of the public in terms of these things, which may, be the focus of you pushing for a no vote. What do you think about that?
Well, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Then I think that we would have advocated for yes, so that government will give us the funding, because it is government who has the money and pushing this agenda. Then we would have advocated for a yes vote, so that government will give us the funding to advocate for a yes vote. First of all, government must tell us how much money that we are expending in this whole exercise, okay? Because we have serious problems confronting this country, okay? And let for us, civil society organizations alone, this referendum is not necessary in the first place. But now look at the energy, look at the amount of money and resources that is going to go into the organization of needless referendum. Has government told us how much they are spending on this referendum? I think it's ridiculous to make that assertion.
Professor Kwame Ahoy, yesterday speaking on the Super Morning Show, mentioned that the earliest time that this can be implemented, even if we did get a yes vote, would be 2023. And so it suggests that perhaps the urgency that's being applied now is not necessarily needed, because he also did say that we actually didn't need to do this part of the election now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, if you read Article 240, which requires, Parliament, after the first reading, to hold on to the procedures of an entrenched provision and go to a referendum. So this is the first reading. Now you go to the referendum. If the people even vote yes, you have to come back to Parliament and still work on the bill, complete the bill, for it to get a presidential assent, start the implementation. We've passed the Right to Information Bill, but the bill is going to take effect next year. Okay? Yeah. Now, we haven't even passed this particular bill. Okay? We've just had the first reading, and as required by law, we have to go for a referendum. After the referendum, then we have to go back to Parliament and complete the law, get a presidential assent for it, then put on the structures for the implementation, which is going to take us far more than when the District Assembly election is going to happen later this year. And so, yes, you don't see where the agency is coming from. And the agency is misapplied. We want the agency to be applied to certain critical issues confronting the country rather than this referendum.
Right, well, thank you very much for joining us this morning.